All right. This is really, really depressing because I swear to gosh that I was doing the dopest, most insightful, informative video on Libra, right? I was giving y'all the real. And then I realized that my 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 mic was off. I was straight up muted. So I'm like, and y'all couldn't even hear me. Like that's some trash. Okay. Um. So I'm back. Yeah. Anyways, I hope y'all will watch this after staring at me mime for the past 15 minutes. Okay, so maybe that was just like my practice round, and I can be a little bit more concise now because I like to run my mouth. Okay, so I was talking about Libra, and God, dog, I'm so disappointed in myself. Okay, but we're gonna do this again. Okay, so I started off talking about Libra by explaining that the sun in Libra. Well, no. First, I gave a disclaimer, right? This is for sidereal Libra. Sidereal Libra is different than tropical Libra because the framework from which the interpretation or meaning of the signs comes is different, right? Tropical is more based on the seasons and the symbolism of the seasons, blah, 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 blah. But I'm going to break down sidereal Libra for you. You are sidereal Libra sun if you were born between October 16th, 17th, and November 16th, 15th, 16th, 17th, something like that. Depends on the year that you were born, but that's roughly the time frame. The middle of October until the middle of November, you have your sun in Libra, okay? So, sun in Libra is what we call in its detriment, and the kind of detriment is fall, and fall being far away from the place of exaltation. Or another way of saying that is that the agenda of the planet is contrary to or hostile to the home that it's in, the sign. So you can think of it as like you are a um, you could think of it as being an Orthodox Jew, right? When you're an Orthodox Jew, you, or if you practice Orthodox Judaism, your home, your kitchen, your house, even the way that your home is set up is conducive to you practicing your religion, doing particular rituals, etc. Right? You got two sinks, you got two refrigerators, all of these things. So when you're in your own home, everything is just so. But imagine if you had to go someplace that didn't have all of these things that you needed in order to live your life, to practice your religion, honor God the way that you wanted to, right? This is akin to being in detriment or being in fall, right? Your agenda and the way that you live your life is contrary to the environment that you in. The environment is foreign, it's not supportive of you and your life, right? So, this is what the sun in Libra is like, okay? Now, remember that this is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Mars in Cancer, Mars in Libra, Moon in Capricorn, Mercury in Pisces. These are all planets in detriment, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? That's just a judgment based on what we would say normal, right? So, when we talk about the sun, though, the sun has a specific agenda and it prefers to execute its agenda in Leo. Aries is great too, right? But Aquarius and Libra are like, ooh, yeah, probably no. This is not the place that the sun can execute its agenda most, I would say, in a way that is in harmony with how it would normally like to do things. So let's talk about the sun. Let's talk about where the sun is at home and why being in Libra's house or in the house of Venus, as it were, is weird for the sun. Okay? So I should turn this music off and pull up Periscope so that if you guys are asking me questions and giving me feedback, I can actually hear you like that one time when you couldn't hear me and nobody could tell me? Let's see. Okay, great. So the sun is perception, right? The sun is individuated consciousness, right? Not the all, but the one within a body, right? After the moon, after Cancer is Leo. So after the birth, after the body is formed, consciousness enters the body, right? So that first year of life that we have, first 2 years, really our whole life is a process of individuating consciousness, becoming aware of ourselves, becoming aware of our environment, and really looking for clues about who we are and what is around us. Right? This all comes back to I and who I am. That's the sun, and that's the sun in Leo. This is saying that my consciousness, my perception of reality serves to tell me about myself, to tell me who I am, the people in my environment, the experiences that I have, the things that I encounter, the whatever. All of this serves to help me become more aware of myself. This is the sun, and this is the sun in its home, in its domicile in Leo. So let's take this and put this into Libra, right? So whenever you have a planet which is in a sign that's not its home, like the sun in Libra, you automatically get into a situation where the planet has to answer to or be subservient to the agenda of another planet. So when the sun is in Libra, excuse me, the sun is in the home of Venus. So that means that the sun answers to, the sun is subservient to, or needs to consider the agenda of Venus before it does its own thing, right? It's kind of like this filter. It's like, yeah, so I know, son, that you really just trying to learn about yourself and become more of who you are, be more conscious of yourself, perceive reality and allow what you see and experience to tell you about yourself, and even manipulate your environment and your world so that it reflects who you've come to see yourself as, right? This is Leo. But in Libra, it's like, yeah, that's great. But before you do all of that, I need you to consider other people, right? Before you focus on who you are and what all of these people and things are telling you about yourself, I need you to consider that there are other people. I need you to consider that there are other individuals with their own perspectives, their own visions, their own sense of consciousness, their own perception of reality, right? So as you perceive your environment, perceive reality, perceive the world around you, Libra, you need to consider that you are in a relationship with other people, either by proxy, just by being in the same environment or room, or being in the same country, being in the same school, organization, whatever it may be, right? It's saying that your sense of individual awareness and consciousness must answer to and consider other people. This is really the essence of Libra. Everything can be boiled down to that. Now, considering other people, uh, we can extrapolate from that a lot of different things, right? We can extrapolate that when there are individuals, right, with their own individuated consciousness in other people, you with others who have the same thing, we can extrapolate from that in order for us to exist, right, in order for us to thrive and live, we must find a way to reconcile these things that are different. You are different from me. So if we're in the house together, how can we reconcile the different wills, moods, desire, goals, ambitions, right? How can we reconcile those two things so that we can live together? This is Libra, this is Venus, right? Venus as the ruler or domicile ruler being at home in Libra. How can we reconcile? That's one of my favorite words for Libra. And reconcile just means to bring back together, right? So we can think about the sun in Libra as our consciousness being focused on reconciling rather than in Leo, where it's at home, being focused on individuating, being focused on uh, magnifying the self, the individual perceptions and awareness of reality, right? It's like saying my perception of reality considers yours, right? This is Libra. Now, the sun enters Libra tomorrow. And on the same day that that happens, Mercury and Jupiter conjunct in Libra. Now, I did a thread. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm getting over this cold. I'm just a mess still. Um, I did a thread earlier today talking about Mercury conjunct Jupiter and the cycle that we're in, right? This cycle began October 11th or 12th of 2016. And so that's when Mercury and Jupiter conjunct in Virgo. And now tomorrow they're going to conjunct in Libra. Again, this is sidereal Libra, which is about 23 to 24 degrees behind tropical. So, in that thread, I talked about how Mercury is uh, using symbols to communicate, whether that's words, numbers, pictures, glyphs, images, whatever it may be, to communicate, right? And Jupiter is why, right? I said that Jupiter is the storyteller, the preacher, the teacher, the author, the writer, right? It's the process of weaving together the words in order to tell a story or to paint a larger picture. So that when Mercury and Jupiter come together, there's this coalescence of our ability to use symbols to communicate with each other, to say what we see, repeat what we've heard, identify the objects and people in our environment with words or names, right? Um, and then Jupiter is making sense of all of those things. So Jupiter is like, oh, that is a sheep, that's a goat, that's a cow. Oh, they all have hooves, right? That's Jupiter. Jupiter's like, wow, they're all animals. Look at all of these things that they have in common. Let me tell you a story about how all of these animals came to be. Right? So this is what we get when Mercury and Jupiter comes together. So Mercury and Jupiter in your Libra house, right? This is revisiting, rethinking, building upon all that we experienced from 2011 till 2014, 2005 to 2006, right? This is all harkening back. This is why I love astrology, y'all, because these are cycles in cycles, right? There's never just one event that happens. There's always a series of experiences, thoughts, people that lead up to a thing. And with astrology, we can identify what those things are to make sense of the future, right? This is what we're doing right now. So Mercury and Jupiter together, right? This is a new cycle, which is so fascinating because when this cycle wraps up next year, it's going to be right in the midst of a Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is going to conjunct Jupiter 3 times. So this is really important to what's going to be happening next fall. And even now, you can tie back to what happened last October, right? Something began. You had an aha moment. You were able to see and articulate the bigger picture of your Virgo house. You were able to make sense of the details in some way. You were able to begin a new project. You were able to begin a new relationship, a new job, or something that was a manifestation of your ability to see and articulate the bigger picture for your Virgo house. Okay? So that's going to be in Libra. Remember, any planet that is not in its home sign, for Mercury, that's Virgo or Gemini, and for Jupiter, that's Pisces or Sagittarius, right? Any planet that's not in its own sign is answering to and subservient to the agenda of another planet. So, Mercury, before you start talking, repeating what you heard, sending messages, writing letters, typing things up, calculating, naming, you need to consider Venus. You need to consider the protocol. You need to consider the culture. You need to consider the implicit and explicit rules that govern what you're about to do. You need to consider that there are consequences. You need to consider that there are other people, right? That's all Mercury and Libra means. It just means that you got to think about Venus things first. Before you start talking, right? Before you start saying anything, you think about Venus things first. So people with Mercury in Libra, right? They want to be able to communicate and be understood by other people. right? They're just not talking to get their whatever off. They're just not waxing poetic, right? They want to speak because they want other people to understand them, right? They want to preserve and maintain connection. They want to reconcile, right, with other people, communities, cultures, whatever it may be, right? Jupiter is the same way, and I've already written 4,000 words on that. But within this frame, I'll just say that Jupiter in Libra again is answering to Venus, right? Our need to tell why, our need to synthesize our experiences and make sense of the bigger picture, our need to uh, craft a vision of what is possible for our lives. All of that answers to Venus when it's in Libra. Did I say that right? Yes. All of those things answer to Venus when it's in Libra, right? So this week is really a time for you to know what's really happening in your Libra house, right? This is a year-long transit. Jupiter's going to be all up in your Libra business for the rest of the year into next year, all the way until October 11th, 2018. Okay? So this is really an inauguration for Jupiter in Libra. We're starting this process of all of these planets coming through and conjuncting Jupiter. Mercury's the first one, right? Then at some point we've got the Sun, we've got Venus, and Mars is the last one, and that's not going to be till the beginning of January 2018, right? So all of these planets are taking turns, beginning a new cycle with Jupiter in your Libra house. And this is the week where you start to be like, oh, okay, that's what's up. That's what we're doing in the Libra house. But again, none of this stuff is out of the blue, right? Jupiter is just crossing over the territory. And again, Jupiter only comes to a sign every 12 years. So it's kind of a big deal transit. It spends a year there, right? So Jupiter is crossing where Saturn spent 2.5, 3 years, right? Back in 2011 and 2014. So you've been well acquainted with your Libra house, right? You had to grow up there a few years ago, right? You had to learn the rules and figure out how things worked in your Libra house, right? You had to become an adult in your Libra house, or you had to um, figure out how to deal with authority figures outside of you, or you had to take authority in that area of your life with consideration to Venus things, right? um, this brings up legal themes, right? If you turned 30 around that time, that would have been your Saturn return, which is a really big deal because now Jupiter is coming to say that did you grow up? What did you learn? How are you going to pull all the pieces together? And so now, this week, we get some aha moments. We get some clarity. We get some of that being able to articulate what we are envisioning for our Libra house for the next year. Okay? So we're going to come back to this week in the coming months. We're going to come back to what we're talking about now. We're going to come back to some things that may happen for you. We're going to come back to this um, because right where Jupiter is right now, right where this Mercury Jupiter conjunction is occurring, right where this new moon in Libra is happening on Thursday, is where Venus is going to be retrograde next year. So pay attention. I tell you these things so that you can be intentional, right? So you can be thinking ahead. This is not just about, oh, today is a great day. Yes, it is a great day for doing whatever, wherever the moon is, wherever the planets is. But also know that this is just one trigger of many in this particular area of your house where you'll have some focus, right? Once we get to January, then things won't be as, I'll say, you won't be able to focus as clearly just on this particular area because there are going to be some things that come in and complicate that in your Cancer and Capricorn houses. But I'll talk about that when we get there. If you have any questions about Libra, you can send me a tweet, whatever. If you want to learn more about Jupiter and Libra, if you want to know where it is in your chart, if you want to know what to expect with Jupiter and Libra, I've written a 4,000 word long read on it. And in that, it talks about Virgo, the differences between Virgo and Libra. And that's really good for people who move from Libra to Virgo in their sidereal chart, right? Libra to Virgo rising or sun or moon, whatever it may be, from Libra to Virgo. I talk about what the difference is, right? And then I talk about Jupiter and Virgo and what we experienced for the past year up until excuse me, from August 2016 till September of 2017, right? I talk about the difference between Jupiter and Virgo and Jupiter and Libra so we can see the transition that we're making. And then I talk about Jupiter and Libra. I talk about what it is, what it means to have Jupiter and Libra in your natal chart. And I talk about how you can find which house in your chart Jupiter is going to be transiting for the next year. Okay, I talk about Jupiter and Libra and justice and the importance of the legal decisions that are going to be made. I mean, come on, sidereal sun and Mercury in Libra, Kaepernick just filed a suit alleging collusion. That is a big deal, right? His whole goal in this is to cancel the collective bargaining agreement that the NFL has with the players, okay? This is all Jupiter and Libra stuff. I talked about this in my long read, right? What are the ways that we identify ourselves in groups, right? So you have this team that has come together. They've got this agreement, right? These are all Libra things. And now Cape is going to try to cancel this agreement because he's like, y'all, right? All he has to do is give evidence of one one instance of collusion, right? And I really think that by um, I want to say the fall, September, August, September of 20, yeah, August, September of 2018, we may see a lockout or player strike with the NFL if it doesn't come before then. That's pretty unlikely. But I also see some issues with the Super Bowl as well. Viewership may be down. It's a lot going on. Anyways, like I said, if you want that Jupiter in Libra long read, it's on my website. It's the tweet pinned to my timeline. And if you have insights or questions about Libra and anything that I've said, send me a tweet. I love to talk about astrology all day. That's why I'm here. All right. See you guys.